Hey, sexy people, you are listening to the Living Better podcast, the podcast aimed at improving your life with tips, tricks, interviews, and much more. I am your host, Matt, and with my wife, Jodi, we will share our life experience and dig up the best information we can find on improving your day-to-day life. So let's get right into it, and as usual, thanks for listening. All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Living Better podcast, episode 9. And today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Audible is a website that offers premium audiobook. If you don't know what an audiobook is, it's an audio version of any book narrated by someone. So what's good about it is that with an audiobook, you can listen to it in your car, at the gym, while doing cardio, or whatnot. So we are sponsored by Audible. If you go to audible.com/living for our podcast, the Living Better podcast, you can subscribe to a 30-day free trial membership, and you get to have one free audiobook to download. And if you don't like the subscription or you don't like the service, you can just cancel and you get to keep the audiobook. So this is actually a true offer for free. And I would suggest you check it out. Our second sponsor is the Sleep Monkey Premium Sleep Mask. So this amazing sleep mask is something that me and my wife discovered. And after working a lot of night shifts and shift work with security that we do, we needed to improve our sleep during the day, especially after a night shift. So we tried to block curtains and put cardboard in windows or whatnot, and nothing ever worked as good as this. So this amazing mask with the little monkey is made of premium quality cotton. It's very comfortable. You barely feel it on your face, and you buy it once. It's good for a lifetime. You can bring it on vacation or on an airplane, or just you can sleep anywhere with this. So it's truly amazing. I would
sure is.
Yeah, I would suggest you check it out. We're going to leave the link to get this product in the description. And that's it for our official sponsored for today. So today we wanted to talk to you about two concepts. The first one is the power of saying no. That's a concept that a lot of people don't understand. People usually believe that they have to say yes to everyone and everybody, and that saying no is deceiving when it's actually not. It's being true to yourself and being true to your time, your intentions, and what you can offer to people. And the second concept we're going to talk about is learning to let go of things you can control. And that's something that a lot of people in their life dwell over. They try to control things that they have actually no control over, either people, situation, or things around them. And we're going to talk about that. So to start off with saying no, by saying no, we mean saying no to things that you don't actually feel like doing. Sometimes people are going to ask you for help. They're going to ask favors. And if it doesn't match your situation at the moment, your life, with whatever you have to do, it's okay to say no. We can also say no and postpone it to another day, saying, I'm not available today. However, I'd be able to help you on Friday, Sunday, Saturday, whatever. So by saying no, you actually commit to either helping at a time that will work for you, or you're setting a boundary that just doesn't work for you on that day, at that point in time. And a lot of people, they believe that that's going to be deceiving. They think that you always have to say yes, and that comes from our childhood. So when you're young, your parents kind of ask you favors, and then a yes is good and a no is bad, right? So every time you say no to them, they discipline you. So growing up, you think that it's not okay to say no. So you want to say yes to everything and everybody. But humans in nature are selfish. So when people ask something, it's because it benefits them, and it probably doesn't benefit you at the moment, but you do it in return of favors with people that you know when you're going to need something, they're going to be there for you. So when you start saying yes to everything out of wanting to help everybody, it actually cuts down your own time for your own personal thing, and there's only 24 hours in a day. So if you're going to be a yes person to everybody, boss, friends, spouse or husband or family members, whatnot.
I just think with time, it leads you to be unhappy.
Exactly.
The more that you always just say yes to everybody and everything, the less happy you are with yourself. You know, it's very important to have personal time with yourself and do what you want to do, what makes you happy. You know, your hobbies, if you like to do something. You know, I think you've helped me with that a lot since in our relationship because, you know, myself, I'm a people pleaser. I always,
Yes.
and I still am. I think I always will be. It's who I am as a person. However, I'm learning more now to say no, but also not feeling bad saying no. You know what I mean?
Yes, of course. We learned that this year, especially 2019 was a rough year for us. And I think that you being a people pleaser, we work 12-hour shifts. So on every day off that we had, she had somebody that needed help or wanted to see her or wanted her attention or whatnot, guidance, tips, whatever. And she was always there to help everybody. But at some point, every single time we were off, we didn't spend any quality time. We didn't have personal even boundaries. So people would come here in our home seeking support, help for whatever they were going through. And at first, we liked doing it, but at some point we became unhappy because we didn't regain that personal space. Our house became kind of a homeless shelter, sort of. Not a homeless shelter, but meaning that people would just come in and, you know, think that it was okay to come at any time instead of respecting
Again,
that.
But we made that choice, right, to say yes. So now
Yes.
that's on us. That was our problem. That was our fault, and we realized that, and we changed that, right?
Well, exactly. So that's
So,
what we talk about today.
You know, it's our fault that we said yes, and we were, you know, I was a yes person and allowed everybody to come in at any time. We just bought a new home, so obviously I wanted my friends and my family to come see, and the more the merrier. I love entertaining. I love that. So, you know, that being said, it was my fault and my problem
That's all right.
that I said, you know, that I said yes.
Yeah.
And I just learned, you know, when I didn't feel like it on my day off, I was like, no, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I just want to kind of hang out today, relax, go to the gym. And that's pretty much it. But you know what? How about next week we can do this? And then,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
that's good.
And then I was more happier. I was like, shit, like I felt bad, but the more happier I was becoming with myself.
Exactly.
So,
And that's important because when you say yes to things, let's say someone invites you to a concert that you're not interested in. It's either a show you don't like or something that you totally don't care about. Even events, someone will say, hey, I'm hosting this party or I'm having a little gathering of friends for whatever occasion. If you're not interested in going, by going, you're not true to yourself and you're not going to have quality time with those person. If you go to a concert, you're actually taking a spot of someone who might enjoy that kind of show and you're going to make someone else happy, but you're not. So what we're trying to say here is when you do something for someone, make sure it's you want to do it, first of all, and it's kind of mutually not beneficial, but in a way that makes you happy. And at that point in time, you're okay with it. And
I think just being okay with it too, because, you know, in any relationship, friends, in a marriage, any family member, it's a relationship. Maybe there are certain scenarios that you don't really feel like doing what they're doing, but you just want to spend quality time with them or be in their presence. I think in that point, that's okay, of course. But then again, compromising. It's not always about what the other person wants to do all the time.
Yeah.
It's just compromising. Okay, no problem. I'll come to, you know, this concert with you. And then hopefully next time, if you want to go for a walk in the forest or do yoga or something, they're receptive to that, right?
Yeah, exactly. But like I was saying, it's just to commit to things that you want to commit to. And instead of making excuses, I find that people nowadays, they make excuses. Instead of just saying, no, I'm not available or I don't want to, they'll come up with excuses. I don't want to come because I have this. They don't need to justify themselves. I don't think people need to justify themselves. It's either a yes and a no. When you say yes, you don't give an explanation why. So why would you give a big explanation when you say no? It's because you kind of feel guilty, and that comes back to your childhood.
Yeah.
You feel guilty about saying no because you're deceiving the person. But in reality, you're not deceiving the person because you're setting up a boundary that at that time, during whatever situation you're going through, you're not available or you just don't want to because you're sick, you're tired, you're exhausted, you don't feel like being there. And that's totally okay, because the next time that you're going to say yes, you're going to be there because you want to be there, because you're energized, you're feeling good, you want to socialize with people. Yeah. So it's totally okay to say no. And that's a concept that we want you guys to learn, that we learned ourselves. And you're going to be a lot happier if you can set boundaries and say yes to things you want to go to or do, and no to the things that you don't, without excuses.
Which doesn't happen overnight. I'm still learning and trying to do that every single day of my life. I am getting better, and I'm making the effort. And I think that's what's the most important thing. You know, people are who they are. You don't change overnight. But if there's something that you're not happy about within yourself that you want to improve on, you know, start by baby steps, you know. And I think with that, you become happier with yourself and you have more respect and dignity for yourself. So I think that's extremely empowering as a human being, right?
Yeah. And especially that as you grow older, you realize that time doesn't come back. So if you're going to spend every day just doing everything for everybody and never thinking about yourself, well, that time is lost. All those people will be happy because they gained something out of you. Mm-hmm. But you didn't gain anything. You're just getting more miserable because you don't spend your day doing actually what you want to do. So, you know, by saying no, you're actually also learning to say yes. It goes both ways, not just a no to anything and everything. It's balancing no with yes when you mean them and no when you don't. So that's it. That's what we wanted to talk about for that part of our podcast about saying no. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go to the second concept we wanted to tell you about, and it's letting go of things you cannot change. And that's very important because I think that a lot of times we get hooked on situation or people and we have this idea of the outcome or a certain way we want the person to be, and they will never be that unless they want to. So by having this idea of them becoming or being somebody that for you would be more appropriate or that you find would be a better version of them or whatnot, you're just hurting yourself because you're not appreciating them for who they are. Sorry. And I think that people are who they are based on their belief, their background, their life experience, and what led them to be that way. And if they're going to change anything, it's going to be on their own terms. You can't force someone to change. And if I talk about, let's say, for instance, my father. So my father passed this year. He took his own life. And for the longest time prior to that, I was trying, he was a heavy smoker. So I was trying to get him to stop smoking, trying to encourage him to take his health seriously and start being more active and doing things for his well-being. And it never changed. It was the same for maybe 20 years. And towards the last 3 years before he passed, I started to let go of that. And I started just appreciating him for being my father. Mm-hmm. This way, I was able to have a good relationship with him because by pushing something upon him that he didn't want to do, it was kind of like affecting a relationship in a way that he would try to avoid me because he didn't feel like he could be himself around me. And
he could go hide and smoke.
He would have to hide or feel uneasy when actually that's what made him happy. That's what he wanted to do.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You know?
And now he's gone. And I was telling my wife the other day, if I could have him back, I would have him back exactly the way he was. So
would I.
Yes. So that's what we want to talk about. That's one thing. Another thing is situation. So if there's something, let's say, let's take work, for instance, or at your workplace, there's very negative people. They are affecting the work dynamic and you're getting pissed off with it. And every day that you go, it just builds up inside of you that you wish they would be somebody they're not. You wish they would stop gossiping or they would stop affecting the work dynamic. But in reality, they won't because that's who they are. So unless they want to change that, which they don't at the moment because for some reason they like to do that, the only thing you can change is your own perception of things and your own emotions that you can control. Yeah. If you can control your inside, you can control a lot of your reactions towards situation because you'll never be able to control everything that happens around you, people, situation, like I said, or not. But you can control your reaction. For instance, let's say you drive your car and somebody cuts you or something and they give you the finger or whatnot. You could be pissed off for the rest of the day, talking about it and dwelling on the fact, what an asshole, he cut me through traffic, he gave me the finger, or you can just laugh about it and say whatever, and you keep driving, brushing it off. And when you can brush things off like that, It's a very powerful skill, and people don't understand that power that you have.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
Like, I was told this, and it was extremely empowering to me, and it stuck with me. Coming back to the work environment, things like that. Other people's energy would affect mine, or people making little comments or things to me, it would actually affect me. But I was told, why let somebody else's problem become yours? Because the second that you are actually getting upset over what somebody else said, that's becoming your problem. And why are you're letting somebody else's issues within them internally affect you? When you know what? No, let that person, when they're ready to change, they will. If not, feel sorry for them, and just, if anything, empathy is a very, very, very powerful tool. And that's what I'm learning to do more. Instead of people's, attitude or negativity affect me, I feel sorry for them. And I just hope and pray that they'll one day be happy within them. So always remember, don't let somebody else's problem become yours.
And the magic word there is let. By let, it means that you allow that person to intrude into your head, to change your emotions, to change your whole wellness.
Yep.
And feeling good starts from your head. If you feel good, you wake up, you feel good in your head, and you go about your day. You're having a good day. You had your coffee. You're happy. It's nice out, whatever. And then bad things or people or situation will come around you. You could still be happy if you decide to brush them off. But usually what we do is we start getting pissed off at, let's say, our boss, and we get pissed off at this person.
People focus a lot on the negative instead of the positive, right?
All the time. Because it's easier. It's easier to do.
Yeah. It's easier to feel like, mad, frustrated, upset compared to feeling, full of joy and happy. And again, that's a very deep thing, but it's hard, right?
It is hard. It's very hard for people. And I was reading a book. It was a guy that was in prison for something like 25 years. And during his experience in prison, he was deprived of liberty. He had very poor conditions, shitty food, whatnot. But he came out, wrote the book, and said that it was the best time of his life because he made it the best time of his life. So by that, what he was trying to imply is exactly what we're trying to let you know, and what we're trying to teach here is that he took all the bad situations surrounding him, decided to disregard what would affect him and focus on the good. And by the good, it could have been going to yard time during an hour and playing basketball.
And having that time to really think in himself and be within himself and his own thoughts.
Exactly. There was another one. It was a guy that was in a concentration camp during the Nazi period. And same thing, the guy decided to make his own joy. And he was able to withstand all the abuse and everything that people went through in concentration camp and came out stronger. Just decided himself that he would be happy none of the less. So it's something that everybody can do. And when you learn to do it, you're going to be good with any situation because you're going to be able not to let that situation affect you. I remember me and my wife, we took a course at the Ottawa U, and I was talking about that in another episode of the podcast. And the teacher was exactly saying that, letting go of things you cannot control. And by that, like if someone would be on his phone, because we all have phones and sometimes we're on it, he could decide that this was rude and focus on that and stop his teaching and say, hey, what are you doing with your phone? That's inappropriate. That's not respectful. I'm teaching a class.
I remember that.
Yes. And what he would do is he would just teach his class to the best of his ability. He wouldn't care if you walk in, out, text, do whatever you want. His point was that I'm here to teach. I'm going to give the best teaching I can do. And if you guys want to be on your phone, maybe you have a situation. Yes, maybe you have a situation like you have a baby at home. You're getting a text from the nanny saying, hey, the baby's sick, whatever. So he chose not to be affected by those things. And by that, he was able to teach a perfect class.
It was great.
It was great. So the same thing can apply to you. You can choose to let go of things at any point in time. It could be your past that you cannot, that's a situation that we cannot change, right? So the past will never come back.
No, it won't.
If you dwell over it and you're like, oh, I did this, I did that, it's not going to change what happened. So you have to put it aside, put it behind, and focus on the present. Same thing with the future. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. So if you stress over your ideas of my future is going to be this and that. Well, you're not there yet.
No.
It might never happen. And most of the times it never happens. Where our own mind is our worst enemy.
Our worst enemy, absolutely.
And it will really affect you. So, and that's what we wanted to say too, is let go of things you cannot control. You can write a list and you can just write down different things and then check beside, can I control this or no? If it's a no, forget about it, because you'll never be able to control it ever.
No, I agree.
So if you think about it, you're using your energy, your mind, your thoughts on something that won't change. So disregard that and focus on the things you can control and change, which the best thing you can do is control your own self. So that's what I wanted to say. So that's a wrap for our teaching today, for our episode 9 of the podcast. If you guys can subscribe and support us, we would really appreciate it. It's free anyways.
Yeah.
So subscribe, and it supports us. It helps us bring out more content. And once again, this podcast is sponsored by the Sleep Monkey Premium Sleep Mask. Check it out. And Audible, go to audible.com/living. Download yourself a free audiobook of any subject that you're interested in. Keep the subscription if you like it, or cancel it if you don't. It doesn't cost anything. So, all right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's it for today.
Yes.
We'll see you next time. Ciao.
Peace out.